simple reason. I'm fed up. And like each and every one of you in this room who knows the challenges that this city faces, you're fed up too. You're fed up with the same tired promises, the same slick plans, and the same slogans that you've heard for 30 years. Promises made, promises never kept. Now, you might be saying to yourself, they have all the experience. Well, if experience is the thing that leads us to the point that we're at today, then I say thanks, but no thanks to that experience. We are tripping over dollars to pick up dimes in this city. The truth is, for the average household, 50 cents extra a day, that's right, 50 cents extra a day will ease this city's gridlock, will build amazing transportation, will fix our affordable housing crisis, and given where we are today in this amazing space, create beautiful, new public spaces that we can enjoy. This election is about a choice, a very, very clear choice, and that's how I ended up here. More of the same, or a fresh outsider perspective. We don't need safe hands, which seems to be all that's being talked about today. We need somebody who's willing to get their hands dirty and tell you the truth, that while Paris might be the city of lights, Toronto has turned into the city of brake lights. Let's say no to their city of no, and let's talk about building my city of yes. Toronto needs to take its financial future into its own hands. You just heard Mr. Tory tell you again, I'm going to go to the other levels of government, and they're going to give me money. Well, what if they don't? You don't have time to wait. You don't have time to wait. And with my plan, it simply lays out not just what you want to hear, but what you need to hear is that we have the ability. I'm not going to touch the revenue tools question yet, that's somebody else's. But we have the ability to take our financial future into our own hands, and we haven't done it. So to say to these people on the stage, just wait until I call my friends in Queen's Park in Ottawa, they're going to deal with me and not with anybody else. That's not a solution to youth unemployment. And the other thing I will say about youth unemployment is, when people get out of the airport, when people come into Toronto, when businesses fly in here, Robert Downey Jr. made a joke about it last week, some of you saw the zipline reference. The first thing they think is that we cannot get around this city. So the time is now to start investing in transit, as I said a moment ago, because people here, no new taxes, gravy train. Mr. Tory is essentially saying we're still on the gravy train. We're not. I would ask each and every one of you, if you knew that 50 cents per day out of your household would fix youth unemployment, fix transit, and get this city moving again, I think for many, if not most of you, the answer to that question would be yes.
Thank you.
50 cents is worth it.
Thank you, Mr. Gunn.
That is one of the issues that I am most passionate about, which is our green space and our public space. Case in point, look at where we are right here. Look at the kinds of spaces that affect something that I don't hear talked about enough in our civic discourse, and that is our quality of life. Quality of life is what brings everybody to a place like the Brickworks, to Witchwood Barns, and to a place that I'm passionate about called the Toronto Islands. So where would I start as mayor? No jets at the Billy Bishop Airport. And that to me talks about your question about how do we deal with the jewels that we have. New York doesn't have a debate every 4 years about putting condos up throughout Central Park or putting a runway next to the Statue of Liberty. But in Toronto, we're constantly auctioning off our most beautiful public spaces. We let the ones that we have become derelict. Trash doesn't get picked up. But, you know, these are the little things. These are the small things that I would sweat as mayor. Not everything is about a grand $20 billion plan or trick or slogan. So for me, our parks, our ravines, nature, where people can take their families to relax, to slow down in a pace of life that you lose a year off your life every time you drive in this city. Not on a Sunday, because today's the only day you can get around. These are things that are crucial. And I'll tell you this, in the next week, I'm going to be releasing a policy that will reveal something groundbreaking, exciting, and game-changing about public space that will say to each and every one of you, it's time to get serious about improving this city. Thank you.
We don't think that there should be an expansion. We don't believe there should be jets. And I believe that was one of the things you raised, Harry.
Yes, I'm deeply concerned. I say this very briefly.
I don't know what Mr. Tory said.
Well, my guess would be Mr. Tory says he's open to the conversation, and there's some conditions that have to come in, and some consultants that need to be hired, and some people who need to be talked to. And so for me, I want to just finish this to say, look, we have a city that has a waterfront. We put a curtain of condos up without any thought, and to me, to put jets on a private facility to make a private monopoly millions of dollars ignores the needs of each and every one of the good people in this city. I thought the question was about extreme weather. And this is the problem with these debates where if you ask Mr. Tory if he likes puppies, he's going to answer Smart Track. And if you ask Ms. Chow about anything, she'll say, well, we have to do it now. The problem is that nobody's willing to say how we're going to pay for this infrastructure. I am. It's very simple. It's not Mother Nature's fault. It's our fault for not contending with her. The way this city is going right now, and I feel this very passionately, is that all we do is put out buckets under the leak, rather than fixing our roof. So this is a city that, because of the toxic environment through the more of the same, is number one in making excuses. I'm going to be number one in getting things done. I appreciate that in some way I'm the invisible guy here, but I think we need to talk about some things that you're all thinking. Mr. Tory talks about investing in infrastructure. You heard that a few minutes ago. Ms. Chow says she has a plan to pay for things. I'm very curious if anybody here who has a basic understanding of economics. This city does not have a spending problem. It has a revenue problem. So if the plan is so clear about where the money's going to come from, how in the world do you build anything new when you're limiting the property tax increase to the rate of inflation? It's a real disservice to mislead the people of Toronto by telling them that this money is wasted and you're just for light. The amount of money that we're talking about here wouldn't even pay for an escalator in one of your Smart Track stations. So for me, it's about meddling with the good people who know that we need to take action now. And all I'll say is this. There's a reason that your financing plan is called a scheme. And I'll leave it at that. What you want to hear. You go to a doctor to hear what you need to hear. You don't go to a lawyer for him or her to tell you that you have a great case when your case is terrible. So here, let me just lay it out. This is a city that's in demand. This is a city that's expensive because people want to live here and people want to come here from all over the world. So there is no magic bullet. There is no magic word of now. Smart Track won't fix it. I mean, I know that answer is coming. But until you have a deep, deep transit plan where you take matters into your own hands, you stop waiting to get your friend Kathleen on the phone and you say, look, the people of Toronto who are paying the property taxes that we're talking about today, it's fear-mongering. The Fords did it, your old friend Doug does it, it's just all fear-mongering. And for 30 years we've heard the same tired slogans that we're overtaxed. Do you know what we're talking about today? And this is shocking. People in this room may go, that can't be right. But we can set our own course and decide to build transit so that people can have more choices of where to live, that we don't have parts of the city that are disconnected from parts of the city that many of us in this room are allowed to live in. And I'll say this, because his name never comes up enough, and I think we do him a disservice by forgetting him. The whole idea of David Miller's Transit City was to connect parts of this city that are disconnected from the fabric of life in this city. So if you want to make housing more affordable to more people and not pretend that some politician can make the price of a house in Forest Hill or the Junction or Roncesvalles cheaper, what do? You build deep transit that will help everybody get around. So this is why this sniping is so unattractive to people. Because it doesn't get anything built. It guarantees that 4 years from now, at the Evergreen Brickworks, we're going to be having the same discussion with the same finger pointing with the same people. So if this is what experience gets you, this is why people are joining Ari's army. It's simple, because people want the truth. And when Ms. Chow says on land transfer tax, you know how many people are affected by that policy? 500. Should only 500 people be making a collective decision that we're a city worth investing in? I think we're a city worth investing in. I'm prepared to pay 40 cents, 50 cents, so that my commute is not madly frustrating every day. So let's stop calling them revenue tools. Let's call them what they are. They're taxes, and they help build the city that we all dream of. Build a city that we don't have to kill ourselves anymore in traffic and congestion, and it will build a city that 4, 8, 12 years from now, we can be proud that we're not having this silly debate every single 4 years because it's more important for them to be mayor than it is for them to lead. We still have 1 minute on the clock if you'd like to jump in. What keeps me up at night is the fact that this is the same debate over and over and over. It never changes. That's why I got into this. Because everywhere I went, all around the city, people were saying, we've had enough of this. Wait till Doug joins. Oh my God. So at the end of the day, well, I'm sure you do, but I don't. So this gravy train thing, this thing that you hear over and over because the people that you think are supposed to be your leaders, the people that you think are supposed to be your leaders aren't leading. And how do you lead? You join me and say to the people in this room who are watching at home, people at all income levels, say, look, this is what it will take for us to control our own future. This is what it will take for us to move the dial. Let's do this together rather than making it about you versus me. They've had 30 years of this. 30 years. And as I said at the beginning, if that's what 30 years of these promises and slogans and now get us, there's not 500 to 1,000 people in this room because you're happy with what's going on. It's time for somebody to really talk about what being progressive is all about. You hear about division of council and you hear Ms. Chow saying, well, the children. Well, we had a pretty good deputy mayor for the last year named Norm Kelly, and he passed legislation ensuring that there was school nutrition and that the city started spending money on it. So this is not a magic pill. I'm hoping that Mr. Tory agrees that we need to spend money on such programs. But what are they not telling you? They're not telling you where the money's going to come from. And it's not a broken council. We learned this year that there are 44 people, minus 2, named Rob and Doug, that understood that the needs of this city trumped the needs of those 2 brothers. We're now going to move forward to our closing remarks. I'm not interested in playing on your heartstrings. That's not me. That's not my life. I only have one interest, is getting this city moving. I don't want to have a city that for the next 4 years, because these two are killing us with kindness, and yet our commutes are no different, our transit doesn't change, but our debt goes up because they're not being honest with you about the very, very little it will take to change this city in such a tremendous, exciting way. Nobody has a clearer mandate than me. Nobody. I lay it out, I tell you the truth, and it's the reason I'm standing up here today. All I'm going to do is set a course for Toronto, where we take our own future into our hands, not based on cozy relationships or 30 years of delivering on a record that I'll leave you all to fact check. We're going to get things moving. We're going to build the city of yes that I talked about when I started. And I can tell you, and I say this as clear as day, because people say, how can you go in front of 600 people and say to them, you would raise property taxes beyond inflation? And it's very simple. Because I understand what the word progressive means. And you can't just use that word and have it mean nothing. The bottom line, and I say this to everybody in the room and everybody watching, you all know deep in your hearts, and most importantly, in your heads, that when you spend a little bit more wisely with people that you trust, you are going to make a lot more starting very soon. Choose more of the same or be bold.